Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this is Fallout 4, the worst game in the Fallout franchise. Kind of be getting into as we go along. I'm going to start a new game and sort of critiquing as we go. I despise this game. I hate it. I think it's the worst. There are some things that I like in it, and a lot of things that I don't. Whenever you see this symbol, I say symbol, this arrangement of letters, it means that I'm saying something about the plot. And if you don't want the game to be spoiled for you, you can press mute until it disappears. It's not my job to spoil the game, that's the writers. With that said, let's dive into this post-apocalyptic trash pile. Yes, I want to start a new game. So what's great is that we get an intro like all games, but they decide to repeat the phrase from Fallout 3 over and over again, I think about 4 times. And it's probably my least favourite phrase because it's almost nonsensical. Hello Toon Pirate, glad you could join us. But the phrase "war never changes" is stupid in my opinion. And what I like to do is that I like to put it next to Metal Gear Solid 4 and have Snake argue with the Fallout narrator, because they both have their own points of why that phrase works.
War. War never changes.
That's one.
In the year 1945, my great-great-grandfather, serving in the army, wondered when he'd get to go home to his wife and the son he'd never seen. He got his wish when the U.S. ended World War II by dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world awaited Armageddon. Instead, something miraculous happened. We began to use atomic energy not as a weapon, but as a nearly limitless source of power. People enjoyed luxuries once thought the realm of science fiction. Domestic robots, fusion-powered cars, portable computers.
Portable.
But then, in the 21st century, people awoke from the American dream. Years of consumption led to shortages of every major resource.
Yeah, they're gonna fight the nuclear plant. That would be a good idea.
Peace became a distant memory. It is now the year 2077. We stand on the brink of total war. And I am afraid. For myself, for my wife, for my infant son. Because if my time in the army taught me one thing, it's that war never changes.
I'm glad they really bookended that opening cinematic. I was worried that I wouldn't get the message that war doesn't change, it's always the same.
War never changes.
You're gonna knock him
Yeah, you
down
just
at
said that.
President's Hall tonight, hun.
You think?
Absolutely. Now get ready and stop hogging the mirror.
Right.
Okay, so this is issue 1 I have with the game, or issue 2, depending on how you look at it, or issue 3. I guess the first is that there's no bloody FOV slider, so it's stuck at about 70 degrees, which is not enough. Bare minimum should be 90 all around. But we have this guy who's from the cinematic, and the game wants us to play as him. There's voice actors, which doesn't work for Fallout because there are so many different ways you could interpret something, and the voice actors had one because they had so many lines to record. So let's go, let's mess with what the game wants us to be. Instead of being a soldier who knows how to fight, let's
Hey, my turn, big guy.
be a woman. Which, nothing wrong with. I just think it will be fun, because the game wants... You'll see in a minute when we explore the house, but the game suggests that the man is the soldier, so knows how to survive in the post-apocalypse, and the woman has a law degree, which suggests that she should be the charismatic one who gets to do all the dialogue options, when really you can build them however you want. This could be a failure of the player playing the game wrong. But on the other hand, it could just be the fact that it's poorly designed, and it worked better in Fallout 3, which is what this game wants to be, as we'll also see. This is another issue I have with the game, is that this opening is set during a war with China, and it's mirroring the sort of 1940s aesthetic. And if you know anything about America during wartime, there were internment camps for racial segregation, essentially. So it wouldn't make sense for there to be a Chinese citizen who's not in an internment camp, but is in fact in the suburbs, and is not being discriminated against. Because society's horrible like that. So let's just sculpt our character. A lot of people like to make their own, basically how they want to look in a game. But we're just going to skip through this, otherwise we'll be stuck here forever. What's interesting with this is that your baby's character model stays the same, but its skin colour changes depending on what you pick. And basically it finds a blend between the two, so if you pick, say, chestnut and sun-kissed between your two parents, then the baby comes out really weird and blue, which is funny. Confirm character, yes. Now I think we're meant to pick a name at some point. So it could be the case that my character's name is Player, which is very funny.
Hey, hun.
Just getting ready. I'm hurrying up, don't worry. Why don't you see if breakfast is ready?
So let's just take a look around what it's setting up here.
We really need to get those vacation photos developed.
So it being the 1940s aesthetic, it ignores the fact that digital cameras exist, and home printers exist, and home computers exist, and they're not the sizes of, well, radios. Also, people don't use watches anymore, they have phones.
Broken again.
Oh darn, my watch is broken.
No need to get dressed twice. I'm so proud of him.
Walking slow in my house, I have to jump everywhere. And there's my baby that I didn't name. Look at him. Look at that freak. It's a game, you can animate anything, but they made it look like an animatronic. There. Give him the tickles. And that audio file's also ripped from Fallout 3. You recognise when you played as a baby.
Wonder what Sean will grow up to be.
Then we're looking at a cold front coming down from
So this is one of the things I do like about this, is that it sets up the world building. It sort of gets you
Bunch of our old holotape recordings.
into the atmosphere of the Fallout universe and really makes you live in it and see things from a pro standpoint. But what was good about the Fallout series is that it didn't let you really see a window into the past. You sort of saw it through the eyes of destruction, which is the problem, because to me Fallout 4 is a fan game of Fallout 3. It's not a real game. There's our lore diploma. That doesn't change depending on which character we pick. But Fallout 4 is a fan game, so a lot of this is just references to the post-apocalypse, and you don't really get a feel of what things were really like. This is more nonsense, if I'll be honest.
Check. Remind me again.
Why, we're about you, ma'am, and helping secure your future. You see, Vault-Tec...
Yes, Toon Pirate, there is something unsettling about this, because it's too suburban. It doesn't fit. It's almost fake. It should be... It's like it was a simulation, which it was in Fallout 3. There's no way that this would exist in real life. People would be a lot more down to earth. You'd see a lot more people scared about the impending apocalypse.
I assure you.
So it doesn't matter what we pick in these dialogue options, everything leads to the same, so...
What's so important?
Why, nothing less than your entire future. If you haven't noticed, ma'am, this country has gone to heck in a handbasket. If you'll excuse my language. The big kaboom is... It's inevitable, I'm afraid. And coming sooner than you may think. If you catch my meaning... Now, I know you're a busy woman, so I won't take up much of your time. Time being, a precious commodity. I'm here today to tell you that because of your family service to our country...
I also like that I can walk away from a conversation like this.
...for entrance into the local vault. Vault 111.
He's just going to stand there. Fortunately, the game doesn't like me, so I can't close the door.
A bit of a rush.
Just go away.
Won't take but a moment. We do need to verify some information to make sure you're cleared for entrance in the unforeseen event of total atomic annihilation.
So the game actually has 3 different dialogue options. There's yes, where you skip to it straight away. There's no, where you go in a conversation loop until you click less. And sarcastic, which makes you click yes, but you say something that the writers thought was funny, like this.
The apocalypse? Well, hell, sign me up.
That's the spirit.
Wasn't that sarcastic?
Let's see.
So here we get the name. What sort of name shall we go with? I'll leave that open for now and let someone pick it. But we're going to go for sort of a sniper build. Oh, never mind, we can't skip that. We have to pick a name. So, I was thinking of going with something, sort of a sniper build, so sneaking around using ranged weapons a lot. Because that's... I feel like that would be an appropriate survivor for a post-apocalypse. Not that it matters in this. You can just pick whatever build you want and power through everything. The only problem with this game is that you have to level up your attack abilities, or you can't do anything because enemies are bullet sponges. That's how it makes the game difficult. It gives enemies more health instead of making the AI smarter or making resources more scarce, so you have to play smarter. So, strength. Luck is surprisingly important, even though it shouldn't be. And for some reason we don't get to boost as much as we do in the other games. We have very little in the way to advance. That's because the leveling system allows us to upgrade these stats as we go through. which, if you're playing as a male character and a soldier, it wouldn't make sense for his strength to be so low and all his stats to be so low, because soldiers need to be tough, strong, and all of these things essentially. As do lawyers. Lawyers need to be charismatic and smart. And perceptive in some cases, and also very strong because they have a lot of books. So unfortunately I can't really balance this character in a way that I'd like to. So that's as much as I can do without sacrificing a lot. I guess we can dip a bit down in intelligence, but that's going to backfire a lot. Every point matters, unfortunately. We don't get to sort of build this character the way we do in the other games. It's very streamlined and simple. It almost doesn't matter because this game is more an FPS than anything.
Wonderful. That's everything. Just gonna walk this over to the vault. Congratulations on being prepared for the future.
Thanks again.
Hey, it's peace of mind. That's worth a little paperwork, right?
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments. Never gonna find that dog.
Sean has been changed, but he absolutely refuses
Sugar bombs. 100% daily value of sugar.
maternal affection who seem to be so
Looks like the milk got delivered.
Go ahead, honey. I'll be there in a second to help, okay?
Oh, how'd you get on the floor, Mr. Bear?
Why is he planted in the middle like it's a sacrificial ritual? We're gonna sell his plushy innards to Satan. Here's our freaky child.
My boy isn't giving his mother any trouble, is he? Hey.
No, she's gone. He's adopted.
Why don't you give it a spin?
Why don't I? There, you satisfied.
That's my boy, on his best behavior, just like his dad. Well, most of the time anyway. Listen, after breakfast, I was thinking we could head to the park for a bit. Weather should hold up.
Oh, right. The park. With you. Because I want to get pregnant again.
Sir,
Excuse me?
you should come and see this.
Codsworth?
What?
What's wrong?
Okay, I've never heard that line before, and that's not exactly sarcastic, but weird. Very, very weird.
Followed by yes.
I dare not dissect it.
Flashes, blinding flashes, sounds of explosions. We're trying to get confirmation.
Hey, can you guys see the TV?
Contact with our
did he
affiliate
say?
stations. We do have coming in. That's confirmed reports. I repeat, confirmed reports of nuclear detonations in New York and Pennsylvania.
Hey, can you guys see the TV?
God.
We need to get to the vault. Now!
I've got Sean. Let's go.
Quick, grab all your valuables. I'll grab the toothpaste, the hairbrush, and this chair. Not allowed to play anything. There are people that have hacked the game.
Excuse me.
This is just a drill, right? This can't really be happening.
So everyone's evacuating, heading to the vault, but these guys are just sort of stood. Not exactly on the front garden, it's more the curb. So I'm actually going to save here. Because if we decide to walk past this and go the wrong way, something really fun happens. A bomb goes off when we die, which is great, because this is a game about freedom. In fact, it's posted as liberty and freedom on the Steam store.
All participants, this way.
Which is great for timing as well, because there's no way we could have gone up that hill with the bomb going off. It's just an artificial brick wall.
I can't lose these. It'll be all I have left. If you're in the vault program, head to the gate. The gate to the vault is that way, ma'am.
You've got the same face as my husband. Yeah.
That's absurd! I am
Not on
vault
the list.
theft.
You don't get in.
I'm going in.
Has some texture pop in there.
Okay. I'm reporting this!
If you're in the program, step forward. Otherwise, return home.
We need to get in. We're on the list.
Infant, adult male, adult female. Okay, go ahead.
We don't even need to say our name there. We just say, hey, I'm on the list. Hey guys, here's some advice, just say you're on the list.
You two, follow me. Come on.
What's gonna happen to all those people outside the
Doing
gate?
everything we can. Now keep moving. This way. Platform in the center.
So I'm pretty sure there's mods on Nexus that help you skip this opening, like all Fallout games,
Is Sean okay?
He's fine.
because this is even more long-winded than Fallout 3.
I love you.
A lot of people hate the Fallout 3 opening, but I'm kind of okay with it, even though it's kind of a joke.
Hold on!
Because it's sort of... It's an alright tutorial-ish. There are its issues, but you sort of grow up learning your character, learning how to do things. They made the tutorial more interesting than, oh no, there's some debris in the way, duck under it by pressing C.
We made it. We're okay.
Everyone, please step off the elevator and proceed up the stairs in an orderly fashion.
No need to worry, folks. We'll get everyone situated in your new home. Vault 111. A better future underground.
So we just...
Yes, up the stairs.
I can't believe it. If we left a minute later...
You all right?
No,
We'd all be.
don't get caught up thinking about that. You're safe now. Everyone, just head up
Oh no, you
the
grabbed the
stairs.
plastic baby instead of the real one. Oh, what are we like? Such good comical timing as well of that bomb to, you know, land just after we
Please,
sign the
Excuse
petition.
me.
welcome to your new home. It's a good fit. Just checking everyone off the list.
So anyone who knows anything about Fallout knows that the vaults are experiments.
Such a lovely family you have. I hope you'll see this as your new
So it's clear that this is some kind of cryo experiment to anyone who's seen the game before.
Step in here and put your vault suit on.
It'll be okay.
Who's my little guy, huh? I'm not going far. I'll just be over there.
These are the blank stares of someone who's just seen a bomb explode.
All set? Just step inside and put on your vault suit. The pod will decontaminate and depressurize you before we head deeper in the vault. Just relax.
Time for a whole new life.
Resident secure. Occupant vitals normal. Procedure complete. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So I'm just going to pop this up because some things are about to happen. Some very contradictory bad things.
This is the one. Here.
Yeah, here's the survivor. So in this game, it's about they took my son. The only problem is, the reason why they take Sean, your son, is because his DNA is untainted by radiation, which I'm pretty sure you could find because this is the Institute taking them, and the Institute is underground. And I'm pretty sure they could find someone untainted by radiation over the course of the 200 years from when this game takes place to before the war. And if untainted blood is so important, why did they just shoot someone, even if he is some kind of renegade? See, if we're a backup, you shot one of them. What is it with characters named Sean that always get taken? Oh no, they took my son. So for some reason we woke up from cryosleep, where apparently the systems failed. But if the systems failed, then surely the slow defrosting would kill us.
Come on. There has to be a release. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, God.
So, voice actors speak too much in this role-playing game. I think it works for an RPG for people to sort of project their own views and their own voice in their head. That's why people like Gordon Freeman so much. It's because they can sort of project their own voice through him.
I'll find who did this. And I'll get Sean back.
But our husband's okay, he's frozen and there's no bullet wound. Good riddance, he was so boring. So, this vault's called 111 because in Fallout 3 it was called Vault 101. And this game is a reference to Fallout 3. Instead of being good. And what's interesting is Vault 111 means nothing when Vault 101 is where it's a reference to who wrote 1984? I've forgotten his name. I've been talking a lot about him recently. That's why I forgot that, but it's a reference to him. And he worked at the BBC as a radio announcer in a room called 101, and that's where he wants to put everything behind him and all his pet peeves and hates. And Vault 101 was locked away forever, so it sort of works on that level. So what they did do in this game is made a good FPS and streamlined the way looting works in the Fallout universe. For one, they made you want to pick up everything, and two, they made you not have to open everything up like this. You can get lost in the navigation, but you can do it all from this menu. Oh, we're not authorized. I guess we'll have to go around. So at the beginning of Fallout 3 it opened with radroaches being around, so does Fallout 4. Stimpaks are in the game because they had to censor it in Australia. They couldn't have it be called morphine, so they called it Stimpaks. It's a good thing they started with like the most basic enemy.
What the hell?
just in case. And unfortunately, we can't drink out of toilets like in the rest of the Fallout games. So already it's worse. So here's a load of flavor text. And we also get little bit games like Donkey Kong. Because someone would make this in the future. Because this has to be a reference to old games. And it's somehow worse than Donkey Kong because we can't jump, and the hitboxes are a lot worse. So System Shock 2 had the Game Pig, which had better games on it. I'm surprised this game didn't spring for noughts and crosses as one of its minigames. So one of the gameplay features that I like is that they added sprint.
What happened here? Where is everyone?
Walking normally in a Fallout game was laborious. Record time, Vorzak. Welcome to the stream. You can watch this back. It's probably going up on my channel. Maybe David's at some point. If anyone's wondering where DJB is, he's in a performance right now doing work. I haven't got any work lined up for today, so I'm doing nothing except for this. So this is more flavor text. They've got a special weapon. And there's really nothing interesting here except for some flavor data that isn't as well written as it has been in other games. But here, we can't unlock it yet. We're going to have to come back later. Even though it's one of the worst weapons in the game. Because it doesn't really do anything. I'm actually getting a fair bit of ammo for our 10mm. Which they changed the look of for this game, which I don't mind. It's supposed to look rustic and archaic,
Is this all that's left?
but also futuristic. Which I guess it kind of does.
Somewhere.
See, in Fallout 3 we had an introduction where there was a locked door where we either had to pick the lock or hack a terminal. In this instead we just have to go to a terminal. We don't get introductions to the hacking or lockpicking minigames. Which I think are alright. I don't mind them. Sure, it's not how lockpicking works, but... I haven't mapped any of the weapons. And I'm not allowed to change things yet. But we do have a melee. We don't have to switch to nothing to be able to punch something now. Oh no, we can't sneak up. What we do have is VATS again. Which is also something that Fallout 4 has as an advertisement on the Steam page. Because Fallout 3 had VATS. And critics loved VATS. Because critics are terrible.
Is anyone alive? Did anyone get out?
Oh, we got a new one, but we're not allowed to pick it up yet.
Am I the only one left?
It's like such an inconvenience. Just have a giant wrist-mounted computer. That would interfere with your movements so much. I remember there was a special pack that you could buy when this game came out, where you got one of those, and it was a really cheap 3D printed plastic model that you could stick your 7-inch phone into, because this game had cross-platform usage. Like, you can load up your Pip-Boy menu onto your phone as an app, which is a good idea. There was a bit of a delay, and it makes it easier because you don't have to go into this bloody menu all the time. Now, oh, there we are. So here's the weapons menu to load things up onto the hotbar. So you don't have to go into that menu. But yeah, there was an app that was slightly delayed, but I think the idea is they wanted people to wear Pip-Boys while playing with a controller. Ooh, which is this massive cumbersome thing, and people complained because it was uncomfortable and fell apart, which is what a Pip-Boy would do. A phone is much more useful, or a Google Glass.
Vault door cycling sequence initiated. Please stand back.
Yeah, they had a cool idea with the app, I think. Very few games have done it. I'd like to see it in a space sim where you can adjust your ship's power loadout, so you can put more energy into shields. Mind you, joysticks allow you to do that. They've even got the Fallout 3 music playing, because remember that. Guys, we're hidden, no one can see us. So really the game should open at this menu. What you should do is you should make a save just before there, so you don't have to sit through that opening cinematic. Because now I can retcon everything. We don't unlock new hairstyles yet though, we still don't get any undercuts or mohawks.
Enjoy your return to the surface, and thank you for choosing Vault Tech.
So yeah, I skipped through a few of the computers, but you find out that these cryopods were meant to remain sealed forever. Because Vault-Tec loves doing wacky experiments that are completely nonsensical. Like, what scientific data will that provide? If you want to see how long people can retain, then you have to unfreeze people to check them to see if they're still functioning. We've been underground for 5 minutes in our mind, so we're blind. And now we see the complete destruction left behind, along with the frame rate. The whole world is trash. They've also given grenades their own button, which I like. You should never have to switch grenades as a main weapon, because quite frankly that is ridiculous and a waste of time, especially in a game where you have to go into this menu. Well, let's quick bar that to the equals, because you get through stimpaks in this game. Because their enemies are bullet sponges that also deal a lot of damage. Because they like to artificially inflate difficulty as game goes on. So what's funny is on Steam they released a HD texture pack that is 65 gigabytes download, and it changes very little. So my system can run 4K and it looks very different. I've actually down-res this for the stream, but you know. We've actually started, if we look at the map, at the top corner of the map. So theoretically, as we go further down and further right, the game gets more difficult. See up here. What's also interesting is that if we look at the map, we can see our home is an island and looks very defensible. So you think raiders would have moved in there because strategically that's an excellent stronghold. It's completely empty. No one's had the thought to move into the suburbs and fortify an island.
Surely you don't think a little radiation could deter the pride of General Atomics International?
Looks like someone is actually making a Fallout 4 mod that is Fallout New Vegas. So you get the Fallout 4 engine, but the game of New Vegas, which I'm very excited for, because it combines the two best parts of the franchises, the gameplay of Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas' story.
They came into the vault. Maybe you saw them. They had guns and strange outfits.
Only Miss Rosa's boy running around in his Halloween costume more than a week early. I swear, the nerve of that woman leaving her brat unsupervised. Not like you, Mum. You're the perfect mother. And Sir is, where is Sir, by the by?
He can't be dead. He can't be. I'm in a dream.
I wonder if he's going to react as an, oh, he's dead.
I'm in a bad dream.
Oh, Mum, these things you're saying, these terrible things, I believe you'll need a distraction. Yes, a distraction to calm this dire mood. It's been ages since we've had a proper family activity. Checkers, or perhaps charades. Oh, Sean does so love that game. Is the lad with you?
Oh, our plastic infant isn't here, you dolt.
He's gone. God damn it. Someone took him. They stole my baby.
See, in my opinion, the voice acting doesn't add anything to this that I couldn't fill in myself in my head. I feel like it's a waste of resources, if I'm honest. And voice acting for the Fallout games has never been that great, apart from in maybe Fallout 1 and 2, where voice acting was used sparsely, but it was really good when they did use it. Yeah, I feel fine.
Doesn't matter how long it's been. I feel fine.
A bit over 210, actually, Mum. Give or take a little for the Earth's rotation and some minor dings to the old chronometer. That means you're 2 centuries late for dinner.
My family's dead. Let's see if we can attempt to persuade him. This is still technically the tutorial.
Codsworth, you're acting a little weird. What's wrong?
So we automatically pass it.
Mum, it's been just horrible. 2 centuries with no one to talk to, no one to serve. I spent the first...
The way RPG should work is that as you level up your charisma, you should get more dialogue options to choose from. In this, you still have 4, but it's always a percentage of what you can get right. That's also a problem in Fallout 3, which this game is a reference to. Not so much in New Vegas, and not really at all in 1 and 2. So let's go back into our old home. Boy, it looks better than ever. Well, our holotapes are gone. Let's go around the barbarian. That hasn't moved or decayed. See, paper's immortal. So the way you get little bonuses in this is by collecting magazines. it's okay, it promotes exploration, but you trip over it everywhere. So leaves got in here and the tiles got jostled about a bit, which I don't know how it happened. If a nuclear blast swept across this house, the ceiling would be ripped off more than it is now. And yeah, the floor tiles wouldn't move.
I'm coming, sweetheart.
And we can take the F block and a baby rattle. We can obsess over our child. But yeah, seeing as we're obsessing over our son, you'd think there'd be no distractions at all. We'd go straight out here. Understandably, we'd follow any lead we can get, so following Codsworth might be a bit of help. But as we're going to see here, there's a stronghold mechanic, which is terrible for a multitude of reasons. Like, why would our characters stop in the middle of their search for their child? I mean, granted, I'm not a parent, but why would a parent stop to when their child has been missing and taken to build strongholds for people? I think the opening is too dramatic and personal driven for it to work. I mean, you can at least justify it in Fallout 3 that your dad abandoned you, so you're going to go off and do your own thing to spite him. So inventory is difficult to manage in this game because you fill up very quickly. So it's probably best for us to dump things. Any access weight we don't want to carry around, because everything can be used as a crafting material, because crafting mechanics plague the nation, or video games, the video game nation.
Come on, Codsworth. I need your help. Where can I go?
Yeah, we're scrounging for supplies. Searching through everything is futile, but because it's built into the game mechanic where you need it to sort of progress your weapons in any way, shape or form, you're sort of forced to. But this game wants to be like Minecraft and have you build towns, but it doesn't fit the story.
I like these people already.
Oh, good. Maybe you'll get along then, and they can help you find young Sean. I shall remain here and secure the house.
So for 200 years, Codsworth hasn't left the neighborhood.
Sweet.
I keep my gun locked beneath my baby's crib. What? Why was that in there? Whose idea was that to put a junk pistol underneath their baby's bed? Why not use a real pistol? They're not even some weird gun nut like the guy who's had a nuclear basement. He should have had a gun there. I keep my fragmentation grenades in the trash, just in case. But there is a lot to explore in this game, which I like. I like exploring things. Apparently we knew this guy was a raider. But I don't like wearing this outfit. It's a good idea to keep the Vault outfit though. I like the clothes system they made. And you can sort of make armor and put it over the top. So we actually have different ammo types. This game likes to rattle down ammo types, so you're forced to switch between different weapons. The only problem is a lot of different weapons use the same ammo type, so there's almost no point. But at least it has that in mind. At least it got rid of the weapon degradation system, which sort of made sense in universe, but weapons like firing a pistol about 10 times doesn't break it, and there's already a way of making you have to switch between weapons all the time. It's called ammo. But here's another reference to Fallout 3. Straight away we get a pet dog, which is somewhere. He's somewhere around here. There he is. Yeah, it's even an Alsatian.
What are you doing out here all by yourself? You lose your owner, buddy? Okay, then. Let's stick together.
I think currency is really weird in these games, how it's almost unified, even though it's almost not at the same time. Like, I can understand people going, we need something to represent exchange. Bottle caps, they seem to be everywhere, but everyone's agreed on the same item. So it's the game's way of standardizing trade. So the reason why there was a dog in Fallout 3, the way they did it was a reference to, particularly in the cinematics, as you saw walking side by side with the Vault Dweller, sort of as a reference to Mad Max, to the Road Warrior, as it was also known by, because Mad Max had a dog and he also had those weird leather shoulder pads. But, you know, dogs have been a sidekick in all the Fallout games. He's an alright companion. Don't have to worry about him if he doesn't die permanently. Yeah, and if I was going to list the Mad Max films in order of what I like to sort of best to worst, I guess, it's definitely Fury Road first, Road Warrior second, and then I'm sort of flipped between just the first Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome. Beyond Thunderdome was bad, but I enjoyed it in some ways. But the first one was kind of dull and didn't do much unique. It's just a weird, during the apocalypse of it being a slow death of the world, and they're sort of on the brink of civilization collapsing, so they're these cops that are trying to keep things together, but they're just pushed over the edge and everything falls apart. But here's the crafting system of the game, essentially, where you see we need all of these little items to upgrade our weapons and sort of change them out. And we can form them into anything, so we could turn a pistol into a sniper rifle if we wanted. Which I like. I like that it's, you know, you've got this junk weapon that people are modifying in different ways and they're changing. But it's all the same standard unit. The only problem is, if you want a sniper rifle or pistol and a submachine gun, you're using the same kind of ammo. I like the look of them. Anyway, it's sort of things hammered together. Like, that doesn't look like a proper bayonet. But things more or less stay the same. Like, we get little buffs. So the more accurate and more damage it can do, the heavier it will be. It's a standard trade-off. I like the look of the pipe weapons, but not how they play. Like, they're worse than they should be, but that's because the game doesn't know how leveling works. So here I'm mulling around, just kind of wandering around, and I should be searching High Earth for my son, but I'm not, because the game lets me have freedom, even though the plot incentive wouldn't grant that. I don't think there's anything that would stop someone searching for their son. They do stupid things
Won't be able to pick this.
for their offspring. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the perk system, which I hate in this game. So, instead of sort of developing new perks, we slightly level up our stats. So, first off, we can sort of delve into our core perks and upgrade them. We also get this chart with lots of little gifts. And there are different things we can do, so pickpocketing, so on and so forth. You might be wondering, where do I upgrade my lockpick and such? Places like these that are further down, so it's kind of a mess. How do I unlock an adept lock when I'm a novice, apparently? I have to work towards something. Like, being able to upgrade your weapons is super important. Like, things like Rifleman are some of the most important perks as the game levels up. And it's kind of just a slow grind, because they make enemies a bullet sponge to make them difficult. And the way you combat them is to upgrade your stats instead of playing smarter. It's almost as though the game wants you to brute force through everything. No, it doesn't want to go off the edge. That's a shame. By the way, I don't promote violence against animals. I'm heavily against that. I also don't promote violence against humans. But for some reason people get more upset when you hurt an animal in a game than a person. Probably because animals are much more vulnerable. This game's a lot more vertical than the other Fallout games, which, gameplay-wise, I like. Basically, what I like about this game is gameplay. What I don't like is all the role-playing stuff. Like, it's an alright shooter that is broken up between having to sell all your gear because you get over-encumbered, and you have a heavy lack of armament.
Hey, up here, on the balcony. I've got a group of settlers inside. The raiders are almost through the door. Grab that laser musket and help us, please.
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to put the left arm, the Raider's left arm, over our pre-existing jacket. Which is annoying because it splits up things like different armaments, but we can do it with the vault suit, so there's a reason to keep the vault suit from the beginning. But what a lot of this game boils down to is go to an area, shoot everyone, loot everything, spend the next few days selling your items. It's what a lot of Bethesda games boil down to. The previous Fallout games, Skyrim, Morrowind. They all boil, pretty much you can summarize them as kill all the guys, then leave. So this is one of the main weapons in the game that you'll be using, the laser musket. A lot of people in the Fallout games have trouble understanding why you use energy weapons, so it's good that they at least give you one straight away to test out and understand if you like it or not. Laser weapons are pretty much the same as normal weapons in this. You'll find more or less ammo. There's almost no point in playing it. But it works for our character as a sniper using a single shot precision weapon. Unfortunately, we're not able to sneak through this area. The game wants us to play it as an FPS.
Won't be able to pick this.
No more British occupation.
Oh no, what are you doing, dog? You've knocked over all of the mannequins like dominoes. What have you done? You are a criminal.
Have your tea back, you chicken imps! Go to station without representation. Remember that.
Someone there?
Back to London, boys. Come on, dolls. One Hancock and
Oh, I leveled up from exploding that person with a laser.
King's regulars are coming out.
Here's our first option between hacking and lockpicking. Now in Fallout 3, what it's suggested through the gameplay mechanics is that there's always another way in. So somewhere in this building, it's likely that there's a key to get into this. But it is at the lowest level, so it's likely that no matter what you picked, you'll be able to do it. But hacking in this game is kind of but it's in all games. It's more or less a word puzzle, so I have to match a 5-letter word with brink. But what I normally do in this situation is I don't bother and I just click randomly, because it's easier.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Got a fusion core. These are valuable in the game. They have pretty much one use, and that's powering power armor. I like what they did with power on this game, where it's more like the nanosuit from the Crysis franchise, where it's more or less a power-up essentially, which then a layer of armor like it was in the other Fallout games. It gives you a sense of how valuable it is and important it is. Could have sworn that there's more guys around. Let's take a look at this. Doesn't look as good as I hoped. I don't like covering up my character's face in games. So, you know, what's the point of having a character creator if you're going to cover the character up in armor? Only in certain bits where I need the armor when I do it. It's like in real life where I don't like wearing things over my face and head. Yeah. So that looks like a better gas mask. So something's interesting is that they went through a ridiculous amount of detail mapping all of the gibs to match up where they are. So you can reassemble the giblets into a location and remake a skull. And if you slow the game down, when it swaps the head model out for the head giblets, when you blow someone's head up, it matches up to a human skull in shape. More attention to detail went into mapping out the gore than the game's story. We got a pipe rifle. Gonna equip that. So we're not a sniper if we don't have a rifle. Six. There we are. That's the right way. So this ridiculous green light will be our torch and help us navigate. And won't make us an easy target. Wozak, you say that no one will notice the gore mechanics, but critics loved it when Fallout 3 came out. They couldn't get enough of the VAT system. Ah, drugs. My favourite. So there's still no sort of in-game effects for drugs where it makes your vision go weird, but they actually have stats like time will slow down, and that's basically bullet time for Jet. Psycho will make you do more damage. And that's about it. I mean, it's not as interesting as it could be, or has been in any other game. I guess in Far Cry 3 it does a thing with drugs that everyone loves. It makes your vision go all blurry and wobbly when you set a weed field on fire.
Man, I don't know who you are, but your timing's impeccable. Preston Garvey, Commonwealth Minutemen.
Minutemen? So now I'm traveling backward in time.
Protect the people at a minute's notice. That was the idea. So I joined up.
So we wore ridiculous clothes
I did, but
that wouldn't last this long.
nope. Now it looks like I'm the last Minuteman left standing.
So realistically our character would probably be like, I've got my own problems.
I have my own problems, Garvey.
I'm looking for my son.
Like what? You help us, maybe we can help you.
My baby Sean's been kidnapped. He's not even a year old.
That's messed up. I'm sorry. I know how this world can be. A month ago, there were 20 of us. Yesterday, there were 8. Now we're 5.
So because he always has the same response, it kind of lines don't work with each other, because there are 4 different responses that all lead to the same outcome and voice clip.
Ghouls? What are ghouls?
Wow. You really aren't from around here, are you? Ghouls are irradiated people.
What I love in games as well is when you see a massive block of text. I'm gonna skip over this.
Well, let's hear it.
Sturgis, tell it.
There's a crashed vertibird up on the roof. Old school, pre-war. You might have seen it. Well, looks like one of its passengers left behind a seriously sweet goodie. We're talking a full suit of cherry T-45 power armor. Military issue.
What makes that power armor so special?
A West-Tech internalized servo system, that's what. Inside that baby, super is the new normal. You'll be stronger, tougher, resistant to rads, and get the suit. You can rip.
Yeah, this game does a interesting thing with sort of grease monkeys, where there's a clan of grease monkeys that trick out power armor in the same way that kids would trip out their hot rods, sort of the 50s. What's a minigun?
Use the minigun like a rifle.
Don't see why not. It'll have a manual trigger. Just aim it at the bad guys and do the old spray and pray. Now, as for the armor, it's out of juice. Probably has been for 100 years. It can be powered up again. But we're a bit stuck.
So what's the solution?
What you'll need is an old pre-war FC. A standardized fusion core. Your high-grade, long-term nuclear battery used by the military and some companies way back when. And we know right where to find one.
But we can't get to the damn thing. It's down in the basement. Locked behind a security gate.
Good thing I found one.
I fix stuff. I tinker. Bypassing security ain't exactly my forte. You could give it a shot.
What are you looking for again?
Our character has short-term memory loss. I do like that when you skip over conversations, your character go, uh-huh.
Actually, I already grabbed the fusion core. We're set.
Well, all right. Maybe our luck's finally turning around. Once you jack the core into the power armor and grab that minigun, those raiders will know they picked the wrong fight. Good luck.
I really don't like Preston Garvey in this game. I don't know why. Good characters are nice to come by, but he's so clean-cut that he's almost lacking in personality, I feel. Now we're going to talk to the worst character in Fallout 4.
Ma'am.
Now look who dog meat brought to us.
So he's your dog?
Aw, he ain't my dog. No, sir. Dog meat, he's what you call his own man. You can't own a free spirit like
This is definitely the worst character in the game. A precog. Not exactly a precog, but more a fortune teller. And in case it wasn't on the point enough, they made her a racist caricature of an Irish traveller. And of course she's only going to give you fortunes in exchange for money.
You saw it?
It's the Kamsky.
In fact, this character is a very, very poor writing technique where you have a character be able to foreshadow events in a pre-written event. So of course you can make any event they want come true. So this character will predict the future of events for a linear experience, and I find it incredibly lazy. Incredibly lazy. It's like the writer took all their notes for what they wanted to happen in the story and then changed them into Mama Murphy lines. And the voice actor was probably told, speak very slowly like you're wise. The only time I've ever seen a precog used well in a film or any kind of media is probably in Macbeth or any kind of like Greek mythology style, like Oedipus, where it's sort of describing the future events will both lead to them in a roundabout way for dramatic irony. Only in this it's not used for dramatic irony, it's used to make things look mysterious and like fate is an act which I despise. I despise the use of fate in any kind of media. I despise this character. In fact, I despise this character so much, I want to kill her.
Opening fire.
My dog is in trouble, of course. Are you immersed? Are you immersed in Fallout 4? Boy, do I love freedom in video games.
There's more of you, right? Now, where did I put those mentats?
So, what you can do in this is that you can give Mama Murphy... Yeah, I want to sit down next to her. You can give Mama Murphy drugs for her to tell you the cliff notes for the plot. But then Preston Garvey will like, oh no, drugs are bad, when I don't understand where his moral compass comes from. The only reason I can see someone in the post-apocalypse thinking drugs are bad is because they're so scarce, and having a character depend on them, or having someone depend on them, is bad because it means they're difficult to sort of look after.
Yes.
But because drugs are bad in society and Preston Garvey is a lawful good character, he has to say drugs are bad, murder is bad, everything is bad that isn't the law.
It's coming. Here, soon.
This character doesn't do anything.
God, no! Why?
You okay?
Nor does this character.
Right?
We just have generic responses to them. No, but speaking of spoilers, I want to bring this up now because it's unlikely that I'll get to this in the stream. There are multiple contradictions in the plot. For example, the Institute are after synths, artificial humans, because they believe that they're tools and that... What do you want, dog? Because they believe that they're tools and there's no such thing as artificial intelligence. But when you complete the game, your son, who's now grown up, gives you a replica of Sean as a child, as a synth. But why would he if he believes that synths aren't real? Is it just to humour you? Or does he actually believe that synths are artificially intelligent, in which case he's promoting slavery? Also, one of the fan theory is that maybe you're a synth, which also doesn't make sense because why would Sean let you wander around everywhere? Why would any of the Institute let you wander around anywhere with free will if they don't believe that synths do have free will? In fact, why would synths believe... why would the Institute believe synths don't have free will when they're escaping and going about the wasteland? This game tries to be Blade Runner, but the writing just isn't there. See, in Blade Runner they understand that synths or Nexus series can have free will, so they're not allowed on Earth, and they have to stop them. But in this, they don't believe they have free will. And it tries to go all cyberpunk when post-apocalypse doesn't work for cyberpunk. You need dystopian for that. Post-apocalypse is used to dissect the human condition and the state of society, not cyberpunk concepts. it's very important to get your themes and setting right if you want it to agree with your plot. But I just alt-tabbed out and threw a grenade right now, so I could get rid of the spoilers image. Luckily I didn't throw it. Okay. So this is how power armor works in this game. It's literally a suit, which I like. You can take unlimited fall damage, and you can upgrade it to have things like a jetpack or a stealth suit, which I like. It lets you do things, and it makes power armor feel like an actual tangible thing. Again, this is a gameplay complement as opposed to a story complement. You know, in the other games you had to go through training to be able to wear power armor, and it was an extremely rare thing. But right now it started off straight away and gives you a preview of how good power armor is and how good miniguns are.
Down here. Show me that fancy gun up close. Not a lot of people could get past my boys. I give you that. Still waiting, asshole. See that?
Using power armor takes up energy, fusion core energy, which is hard to come by at the beginning of the game at least. Sniping's not working right now. I'll play the game how it wants me to play it instead of playing it like a Fallout game. Fine. So you don't take full damage in the mech suit. Power armor. But what the game does to establish how good power armor does is it lets you have a power fantasy in a game about survival, in a setting about survival. Volzak wants to know how I feel about narrative-driven games. I like them. I like interactive content. I like that horror game that came out on the PS4. This name I can't remember. Until Dawn. I like it. It's an interesting thing to explore, even if it can be executed badly. But yeah, this game wants to establish that power armor's good, so it makes us face a Deathclaw, which is a bullet sponge in this game. There's no tactical approach, really. Because it gives us a sort of spam weapon, an automatic weapon, and power armor. So I'm stuck in an animation cycle and I'm stuck on terrain. Also, I can't remember what I mapped VATS to, so I'm just going to check that now. Oh god. Oh, Bethesda's paid mod system. Great. I'm glad they implemented that without telling anyone. Right. We haven't looked at VATS yet, and the way that that works in the game. Q, I've mapped it to. So it sort of slows down time down and allows you to take aimed shots with a percentage. I wish it would stop putting me in these pre-animated takedowns where I can't do anything. And I clicked off the window. Power armor. So that's not a fun difficulty spike, because you'll chew through humans like nobody's business in this game. But you go up against an animal, and it will go on forever. The fight will go on forever. Even one of the, like a Mirelurk, which is an irradiated crab, essentially. You'll be there for 5 minutes because the game's not sort of balanced in a way that sort of makes sense. So of course you're going to put all your points into weapons to fight these things, and then when you go up against humans, you'll just chew straight through them. So there's some real balancing issues that haven't changed, haven't been fixed. I'm a lawyer. I have a law degree in this game. My character has a law degree, and that's her backstory. Because world building collides with the plot. This is almost like a launch title for a console as opposed to an actual Fallout game. You can tell the amount they poured into the graphics and sort of the concept as opposed to the actual content sort of sets the stage. I mean, even if you look at the lore, it doesn't make sense for a Deathclaw to be out here at this point because they're a pack animal in universe. Why would he be in the middle of the city? It's just so they can have a boss, essentially. Also, they're not impervious to bullets. They're tough. But they don't chew through rounds. Yeah, 40 XP for probably about 3 magazines of a minigun, straight up firing into it. This game's a turd. And now for phase 2 of gameplay, which is Raid, where you go for all the corpses and pick up all the items. Ammo, anything valuable, essentially. That looks valuable. Oh hey, it's a GTA 5 character. Not anymore. You also don't think that someone, either with a law degree or a military background from a different era, would act like this during the post-apocalypse of sort of ineffectually searching through corpses with woeful abandon. Like, you could say, oh, a soldier will have survival skills, and so will be desensitized, and maybe that will come out. But I mean, he's not in the military as of launch of this game. He's sort of in the auxiliaries. And the female has to have a law degree. Because women can't join the army, according to Bethesda. And the future of their made-up franchise. That they didn't own. They bought, actually. So what's interesting is that power armor sort of operates as a vehicle in this. So you'll ditch it and you'll keep a waypoint on it. So you can have one suit of power armor that you slowly upgrade. Like you swap out the plates for something tougher, add modifications for it. So it's sort of your vehicle, it's your Mad Max vehicle of power armor, which is kind of interesting.
Excuse me.
That was
Alright, Preston Gravy. What's the
I'm
plan?
just glad you're on our side.
I'm on my own side, Garvey.
That's a shame. You can never have too many friends in the Commonwealth. Listen, when we first met, you asked about the Minutemen. One thing you should know about us, we
Did he just look at the camera?
So here.
He did it again. Those cold dead eyes.
What happens now?
For the longest time, Mama Murphy's had a vision of a place called Sanctuary. Some old neighborhood, but one...
Now someone wants to move into the easily fortifiable island with pre-existing shelters in the post-apocalypse that happened over 200 years ago.
What would I need to do?
You'd need to stay strong like you've been. 'Cause there's more to your destiny.
There we are, destiny.
Seen it, and I know your pain.
So we can't tell her to shut up other than you're lying, but it's all going to lead to the same result. There's actually a mod for this which breaks down the conversations into something more understandable, like "help me please" turns into something more accurate to what she's going to say. Like Destiny and Go On are pretty much the same thing. What it does is essentially when you install that mod is that you can see all the options are the same.
Your son's energy. He's alive.
Where is my son? Where is Sean?
Oh, I wish I knew, kid. I really do. But it's not like I can see your son. I can just feel his life force, his energy.
I'm psychic, but I'm not psychic.
And even I don't need the sight to tell you where you should start looking. The great
Even you should know where to start looking.
Diamond City, the biggest settlement around.
We'll get to Diamond City. I hate Diamond City. For those of you who don't know, Diamond City is a reference to Rivet City, which is a place in the mid... It's basically a fortified position in the middle of a city surrounded by super mutants, raiders, wild animals. Why would humans settle surrounded by super mutants? Even if they are fortified in, it's meant to be the main hub, and they should need trade, but for some reason they can get easy trade surrounded by raiders and super mutants.
That's vague.
Look, kid, I'm tired now. Maybe you'll bring me some chems later. The site will paint a clearer picture.
No, Mama Murphy, we talked about this. That junk. It's gonna kill you.
Drugs are bad, says a man named Garvey.
We're gonna need the site. And our new friend here, she's gonna need it too. Now let's get going. Sanctuary awaits.
Alright, folks. Thanks to our friend here, it's safe to move out. We're heading for that place Mama Murphy knows about. Sanctuary. It's not far.
She knows about it? You mean she had one of her visions while she was stoned out of her gourd? And now you want us to just head out on another wild goose chase based on no better plan than Mama Murphy saw it?
It can
Oh,
hardly
hold
turn
on,
out
hold
any
on.
worse than...
Everybody just take it easy. We're all in this together, right? So Marcy, you got a better idea of what we should do next?
This gun is ridiculous.
Anybody?
Knees would bang against the ammo drum.
There it is. Let's just hope it lives up to its name.
Come on, June, it's time to go.
Oh, okay.
Something that does annoy me in this, that is in the other Fallout games, at least New Vegas and 3, is that when you holster a weapon, it just vanishes instead of, like, goes on your hip. That really annoys me for some reason. Like, I want to see it mounted on my back for some reason. I don't know why this bothers me.
Let's move out. I'll take point. Stay close, everyone.
We're right behind you.
So here's where, realistically, your character would walk off and do their own thing. But instead, there's whole quests where you have to become, like... Todd Howard has an obsession with you becoming the leader of any kind of guild. Skyrim is a perfect example, but in this you become the leader of the Minutemen and like a raider gang in one of the DLCs. When realistically I wouldn't follow him. He's moving into my own home, my old home. But we don't really have to escort him, there's nothing in between. I don't understand how we got stranded right there when Sanctuary is a block away. In fact, the map is so small, I don't understand how anyone would get stranded anywhere. I think it takes about 20 minutes without having to do a quick travel in this to cross the map. Stock on terrain again. And this is also one of those FPSs where iron sights sort of decreases the spread of a gun, which makes no sense. So say I got a pistol and shot without iron sights like this, like someone who plays FPSs on PC normally would. Bullets will spread further apart than if I just did this. Like they'll hit, say I'm aiming at that pole there, aiming with iron sights, I'm hitting the pole, but aiming like this, the bullets are going around. So it changes the way that bullets work somehow. But this is going to be your main headquarters most of the time in the game. Sort of going to set up shop here. So let's do that. Let's stop searching for our son and build a place for these people that made me kill everything and endanger my life for them and give them my home. But hey. As you can see, we get different upgrades, but we have to take perks before we're allowed to do that. That's fair enough, I'd say. But it increases durability and the effectiveness of the armor. You can add things like a headlamp, but also mods. I wish these mods wouldn't show up until you got the perks, so you could be surprised by the fact that, hey, you can lock onto things and look through walls essentially, or the more interesting mods are, you can make a stealth suit, so you can make a giant, heavy, loud stealth suit. Or a jetpack. I'd like that to be a neat little surprise, but you can see it straight off the bat and have something to work towards at least. So it'll be like, hey, I'm excited to work towards the jetpack and unlock that because this game is Minecraft and not a narrative-driven RPG. What are you guys doing? You guys want to go for a swim? Some really bad AI in this.
I'm glad you decided to come with us. I should have listened to Mama Murphy all along. Pretty nice place she's found for us.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one else found it.
Make it a place to call home. What do you think?
Yeah. I used to
Thanks for moving into my house.
What do you mean? Before what?
It felt like only earlier today. It felt like only a few hours ago that I was there, waking up in the morning.
I lived here. Over 200.
So what I want to sort of look at now
Frozen or something for most of it.
is look at the unique selling points of this game on Steam and sort of dissect that, because it summarizes what the industry's like and how it's completely ignored what Fallout is about. So, key features: freedom and liberty. How American. Do whatever you want in a massive open world with hundreds of locations, characters and quests. A lot of the quests are rinse and repeat. Join multiple factions, vying for power, or go it alone. The choices are all yours. That simply isn't true in this. It more or less works out to be the same thing. There's little in the way of choice. It is a tiny map with a lot of verticality and a lot to explore. But the attention to detail is putting lots of little hidden treats in places as opposed to things that build the world. You're special. Be whoever you want with the special character system. It's a shooter, it's an FPS, you can't pick who you want to be. From a power-armoured soldier to a charismatic smooth talker, we haven't had any points to talk our way out of fighting. Unlike in New Vegas. You can choose from hundreds of perks, much of which are multi-staged, and develop your own playstyle. Again, it's a shooter. Super Deluxe Pixels. I'm not gonna read this, but it more or less summarizes in, this game has good graphics. It's using system hardware as a selling point, which is something they do at the beginning of a console to sell the console. So say when the Xbox One came out, this game was set to be released with the console as a sell point, to be sort of as an example of what the hardware can achieve. Unfortunately, it's poorly optimized, so it's a bad example when people buy it and it's a glitchy mess. They see, oh, this is poorly unoptimized. It's almost as though, like, they rushed it. And they're just saying, oh, it looks good, but not making it run good as well. Violence and VATS. The Fallout games are about gore and violence and shooting. When someone's head explodes, you can see all the little bits as opposed to the nuanced storytelling. Collect and build. The unique selling point of this game is that it's The Sims and Minecraft crossed. Not that it's a Fallout game. And that more or less summarizes what's wrong with this game, is that it's not... It's the illusion of it being a Fallout game with lots of unique choices, but the story is a cyberpunk dystopian as opposed to a post-apocalyptic dissection of society and character building and sort of the human condition. The game doesn't really work on many levels. It's a fine FPS, I guess, apart from the bits where it doesn't run very well and the shooting is actually very bland and basic. And it's poorly optimized and it's poorly designed, where you'll get weird difficulty spikes out of nowhere. The DLC is meaningless, and I hate it. And that more or less sums out Fallout 4. I'm not sure what anyone else's thoughts are. I'm gonna hop into the commentary track, and whoever wants to join can do. Up on Discord, and we'll sort of go from there. Because this game is long to get through. I mean, it's been 2 hours of gameplay and we've barely got past the first quest, and I've been going at it at a fair pace. I haven't been distracted going around searching. It's very poorly paced.
Hello.
Hey, Vorzak, thank you for joining. How are you today, man?
I'm alright, yes. I just had to take a quick palate cleanser, just because this game is, it's everything I remember it being.
It's rough. It's they have not fixed the issues. Actually, it reminds me of the BioShock Remastered collection, where they re-released a broken game, and they didn't fix it.
Or the Silent Hill anthology, I remember that being really bad.
Really bad and broken.
Yeah. I was just thinking about what you were saying about the main plot point and how it doesn't tie in with the open world setting. I think it's very true what you say. I mean, comparing it to the opening of Fallout 3, where it's like you've got a backstory. You're given a backstory, but there's no prescient.
There's no driving motivation.
Exactly. Yes. There's no driving motivation. There's nothing that's like you have to go do this. It goes, here is the world, do what you will, and then you find the goals that you need to, like, you find out about your father and that he may be still alive.
Yeah.
Whereas this goes straight from the off. It goes, right, your son's missing. Go find him. Or you can go do other trivial shit. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because what loving father or mother would completely forget about their less than 1 year old, quote unquote, son that's just been stolen before them after their spouse has been executed.
Fuck that! I'm gonna go kill some raiders. And
I'm gonna help a man who just doesn't sit right with me. Help him move into my house. Which I felt like I was there not 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's like it's a complete sort of cognitive.
It's a tonal shift almost.
Yeah, it's very dissonant in its tone, and it's just a shame that like I was saying right at the very beginning of the stream, that there were things like sprinting and all these lovely little gameplay mechanics that they've added in, which kind of feel a bit like, oh, they've added this, even though it's kind of been in every single game, like, since Fallout 3.
Yeah.
It feels they've made quality of life changes, but they're still kind of archaic by modern gameplay standards.
Yeah, it's like cover and going up to cover, and when you aim, you sort of look over it. It's been in FPSs for years. But in this, it's somehow remarkable that it's in there, because Fallout games aren't known for their robust shooting mechanics. No. And this game kind of fixed what they thought people's main complaint was, and also that they thought that everyone loves Fallout 3, when instead now opinions have switched.
To New Vegas.
To New Vegas being the good one. And Fallout 3 being garbage.
Yeah, I have to admit, I didn't play much of Fallout of New Vegas. Sorry,
I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah, I need to get it on PC. I need to re-download it on PC and play it through again. I love the idea of being able to play through the entire game without firing a single shot. Yeah,
the game does allow you for that. Its opening is very quick. It allows you to get straight into things. Like, it still keeps you building a character, but also the motivation for the plot is it begins with you getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
Now, you could go after the guy who shot you in the head, or you could forget about it and do your own thing. But as the plot goes on, you then get involved in these warring factions over territory. So it's not you're directly linked in with the plot. You can ignore it and go and explore. The only problem is the New Vegas map isn't as good as Fallout 3's map to explore. It's a lot smaller.
That's a shame.
But it's more focused. The game has a smaller budget.
Yeah. I mean, I think that also your character, from a sort of storytelling perspective, your character is already set in that world.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
They have grounds.
They have grounding in the universe. They know what's going on. You can do whatever
or they might not know, if you're going into the game not knowing anything, then it works because you got shot in the head, so you don't remember.
Yeah. It's a very, very sort of open, clean slate.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to start with an open world game. Starting with what is essentially a cutscene of just you saying, "Oh, my marital life is all blissful and joyous."
War never changes.
Yeah, it's like it strikes me as sort of like say tonal dissonance because
Yeah.
if you want to be someone who goes around murdering people and like trying to get money out of them by threatening them and blackmailing people,
It doesn't work for someone who was pre-war.
yeah. It's like why am I in my quest to find my son in this strange new world? Would I go around and just try and
Executing everyone.
Yeah, executing everyone and stuff like even with what's her name, the annoying Madam, what's her name, the one who talks like she's a Brooklyn woman on the precog.
Yeah.
She sounds like a Brooklyn woman on like sedatives. The way she talks.
I'm just going to stop you there because do you remember Wasteland Survival Guide from Fallout 3? Here it is. Boy, do I love reference.
Reference. Wow.
Yeah, this game likes to reference a bad game, which, you know, most places that reference something, they usually reference something good.
Yeah.
But they're referencing Fallout 3 because people liked Fallout 3 because they liked walking around exploring. They didn't understand that an RPG should be story-based. It works to be open world, it's fun to explore as a side bit, but you need a good story and grounding, in my opinion, for me to follow along with your game.
I think it's role-playing game has moved away from role-playing and it's moved into just the mechanics of leveling up and gaining stats, which is a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah.
Because that's what when people say RPG, they think the mechanics of I level up, I improve my
leveling systems, dialogue options.
Well, not even the dialogue options, because a lot of games like Final Fantasy and that they're very linear, but they're considered RPGs because they have this system of leveling up and
But you're not playing a role in Final Fantasy.
No, you're not. Especially in Final Fantasy 13, which is the main sort of.
Well, in any of them, I think. Yeah. Well, I'm not an expert on Final Fantasy. Would need David for that.
That's right.
I think he's still outperforming.
That's fair enough. It's just at 10:30 at night. Yeah, you'd probably be finishing.
He's gone to further north in England.
Northampton, isn't it?
Yeah, and also me and him were out drinking last night, so he's probably just tired from that, and that's carried over to his performance. Our mate Blair came back from America from directing a critically acclaimed play, and he kept,
sweet.
Yeah, he was trying to encourage us to go clubbing, and I don't like clubbing, and David has to perform. And I was also tired. I've been busy with work.
Yeah, there is an infamous place in Guildford called Pop World, which is where all my actor friends try to go after a show run. They're like, "Oh, let's go to Pop World and drink shitty drinks and try and dance on a floor that is actually eternally sticky."
Ugh.
It's like walking through molasses. It's like mud. It's like every time you try and step somewhere. But anyway, back to Fallout.
Back to Fallout 4. I wanted to point this out because I picked up some rads there. Now, they've dumbed this game down. I don't like that phrase. Simplifying it allows newer players to get hold of it, but they have dumbed it down. Because if we look at our corner, we don't have a rads meter where we get radiation poisoning. It directly affects our max HP. Yeah. So the more rads we take, it lessens our max HP. It doesn't give us radiation sickness.
Yeah,
They've taken away RPG elements and streamlined them into shooter mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, I no longer want to be irradiated because it stops me getting a well-rested bonus, or my character's limbs won't heal anymore. It's because I don't have a max HP and it's directly affecting my ability to video game.
Yeah, I find with simplification of things in video games, it's sort of good. There's two sort of sides to it. There's the good side and the bad side. There's streamlining and there's diluting.
Yeah, so
there's trimming the fat and then there's just stripping it bare.
I'd say a good example of that is with Stalker Clear Skies. An excellent game, but it needs streamlining. It's very difficult to get into.
It's
very
cumbersome.
difficult. It needs some layer of simplification or more traditional mechanics, like better voice acting and more robust movement system.
Yeah.
For me to get into. But with Fallout 3, I feel like anyone could get into that. And Fallout New Vegas, it was simple enough.
Yeah.
But it's been diluted, not streamlined.
Yeah.
At least walking around's nice. It looks pretty if you ignore the fact that the frame rate's kind of crummy because it's poorly optimized and the fact that it's taking up half my hard drive.
That's alright. I mean, this is where it kind of feels like the sprint function is detrimental, because to me it feels less immersive to just sprint through a city. Like if you had the option just to simply just walk, and it allows you to take in the sights. I think that's what I enjoyed most about Fallout 3. Like I say, I didn't play much of the New Vegas.
Yeah, you need to turn off that navigation system where you're...
Yeah, you just want to wander.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I have to admit, I'm very bad for sandbox games because I like to have a driving force like a driving goal.
Yeah, you need something overarching. Finding a personal quest is not good for an overarching story, aka finding my son.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, if there's some kind of... I think, from what I've heard, I haven't played it, but Breath of the Wild apparently did something similar, where it's like, there is this evil force in the world, but you can take as long as you like to go and fight it. You can either run straight to it, or you can meander around and do what you will. So there's no... So there is a threat, there's an imminent threat, but it's not oppressively imminent. I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it.
It's not a pressing matter.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of urgency like finding my son would be.
Yeah, it's not urgent.
Let's say we just found a sniper rifle, so I can finally do my character.
Yay! I have to admit, I'm also at sniper rifles, and I hate the pipe weapons.
They are kind of garbage. I also don't have any ammo for it.
Oh. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. You can't
Why
make...
is your AP draining, by the way?
Oh, so when you sprint, it drains your AP, instead of your AP just being tied to... VATs, yeah. Which I like. I like sprinting, because as an FPS, sprinting from cover to cover can be useful.
Yeah, scrambling.
Also, when I'm trying to get directly to a location and I'm very fed up, I like to be able to sprint there.
It's an interesting trade-off between the two different things, the sprint ability and the AP. It's interesting how...
It's a stamina bar, essentially.
Yeah. Admittedly, I don't generally like stamina bars, but...
No, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But they need to limit it in some way. The more
Yeah.
agility you have, the more stamina you have in this game. It's an RPG limiter. It gives you a reason to put points into agility. Yeah. Because agility was in the other Fallout games.
Well, it's part of special, I suppose, so...
Yeah.
I think it would be... It's kind of sacrosanct, I imagine. So they couldn't really scrap that.
No.
It...
Drains quickly, though.
Yeah. It's odd how Fallout 4 doesn't seem to have a... For all its sort of accoutrements and stuff that it has sort of tacked onto it, it doesn't seem to have a sense of identity.
No. No. Like, the sort of art style of Fallout 3, not so much Fallout 2, is... things look futuristic, but also rustic and old.
Sort of retrograde.
Retrograde, yeah, it's high tech, but it looks low tech.
Yeah.
Which sort of fits the 1940s art style, I guess.
Yeah.
With all these, the idea of all these new space age technologies. I think it's called laserpunk, the art style, where things sort of look that style. But it's also got the Mad Max style of weird irradiated people that's hair isn't quite grown right.
See, I think I prefer the laserpunk sort of stylings to the post-apocalyptic almost. I mean, I find that style far more endearing, like that sort of weird sort of Flash Gordon style laser guns and sort of early Star Trek and cars like the one you're looking at just now, or at least you are on the stream.
I'm using that as a visual example.
Yeah, that's a very sort of retrofitted sort of style which I really enjoy, and I think that has personality to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, unfortunately, it's become very easy to do post-apocalyptic raider punk sort of style where
Raiders all
coupled together.
Yeah, where it's got half a tire cobbled on as armor.
Oh, tire pauldrons, always with the tire fucking pauldrons.
Because it was in Mad Max, and it's a reference.
Oh yeah.
The art style's a reference to Mad Max.
Yeah.
I think it works for post-apocalypse for that to work. It's difficult to replicate because a lot of things get it wrong.
I just find it a bit generic, I suppose, in many ways. It's like I like something that's stark, and I like the contrast that the games have of these bizarre vehicles like from the past that are sort of antiquated but at the same time futuristic. I think it was Arthur C. Clarke who said the thing that dates the most in science fiction is people's perception of the future.
Yeah.
And I think that's very true.
Well, perception of the future has changed over the years. It was very optimistic in the 60s, and then when the threat of nuclear war happened, it became it sort of became soured to more dystopian, and that's where dystopian and post-apocalyptic fiction began to be written. I mean, if you look back to... I forget his name again. I still can't remember. Who wrote 1984?
Oh, George Orwell.
George Orwell. All language like robot comes from George Orwell and a playwright from the 1920s. All of it. So, if you look at Blade Runner, the art style from that came from George Orwell.
Yeah.
It can all be traced back to him and the 1920s playwright. I actually had a discussion with my friend Blair last night.
Is this Karel Capek, the writer of Rossum's Universal Robots, who I believe he was Czech.
Yes,
Czech.
probably.
He invented
basically the whole idea of AI and...
Or Isaac Asimov?
I think it was Isaac. I don't know. I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah, it's sort of that sort of early sort of... when was Asimov? Asimov was sort of 60s, I believe. Let me look it up. Yeah, Rossum's Universal Robots was in the 1920s. It's the first creation of the concept of a robot, where they were...
And the word robot as well, yeah.
Yeah. It was as a sort of mechanical servitor. And then you had things like Metropolis, which sort of built on it a bit more, and all these interesting concepts.
Yeah, it's interesting to look back on that because that's sort of the root of it. So, you'd think that if this game wants to sort of focus on a cyberpunk theme of artificial intelligence and robot, it would go for a 1920s art style. Which this is more a sort of 50s, 60s art style.
Yeah, it's kind of stretching itself too thin, this game, and thanks to Pirate for the linguistic root of the word robot.
Oh, Slavic.
Yes, I like Slavic. Slavic's an interesting language.
Yeah. Oh, what the... Oh, Radstags, because... Rad cows had two heads, so Rad stags also have two heads. What a coincidence.
Boy, reference.
Yeah. Also, this is a bit of a nitpick with the general Fallout franchise, is that some creatures have been born with two heads, they don't live past a year.
Yep.
I've heard stories of like turtles being born with two heads, and they've tried to keep them alive, but they won't live longer than a year.
And then also, it's odd... The idea of a mutation is that it is almost not quite random, but it is a mutation. It's not
survival of the fittest. You'd think you'd see more like death claws. You'd see creatures like that are tough and can survive the wastes, as opposed to shoveling monstrosities.
Well, what I think I'm trying to get at is that if you have a mutation, it's usually a unique thing. Whereas if you have something that is like copy pasted, like all ragstags have 2 heads, that's not really. It's not really from a genetic standpoint. It's a bit sort of what's the term? It's a bit of a cliche, you know. When it comes to mutation, is the idea that every mutation is the same.
Or it's gonna involve me.
Yeah, I mean 200 years.
But then it wouldn't really be a mutation, would it? It would be more evolution. But
Yeah, an evolutionary triad, but what's the evolutionary benefit of having 2 heads?
Exactly. And Dogboy is slaughtering those guys.
Yeah, they chewed through my health because I'm lower level.
Ah, shit, that was you. Sorry, I thought that was a cinematic kill of you murdering someone.
No, there are animation takedowns.
Yeah.
Of when you get someone low enough health and then you melee them.
Ah, yeah. And then VATS as well, I believe.
Yeah, but that diner is... I'm not going to bother going through the conversation tree. But that diner is the earliest merchant you can get in the game. One of 3 or 4 merchants. The settlement mechanic allows you to create merchants in each settlement.
Yeah. That feels really dumbed down to me. Just the idea, we can just hire a random person to join your...
Well, you tell one of your settlers to be a merchant, essentially. And that's just so you can offload your items that you collect, so you have a way of making money.
It's weird how they dumb down the sort of idea of, you know, you can just build a merchant and get goods from out the ether, yet you still have to link up every single fucking power plant with a cable to power everything. It just seems so backward. Sorry, I'm playing up my anger for dramatic effect, really, but it does annoy me how
that's a civilian. Oh well.
Oh dear.
I'm going to restart this in a minute anyway.
Oh dear, poor Trudy.
Oh wait, she's supposed to exist as a character. I'm not allowed to kill her.
Oh.
Freedom and liberty. Game design.
Open world, except when play the way you want to, except the way that we
tell you to.
Yeah.
You have the freedom to do what we tell you to.
It is dumb. Though it is kind of fun watching you smack someone to death with a tire iron. In a sort of manhunt-esque way.
Very brutal. Well, I think the post-apocalypse is best depicted as brutal.
Yeah.
Because it's post-apocalypse in writing is meant to show the breakdown of society and the human condition, so it being shown as violent works because the world destroyed itself through violence. If you want to do a post-apocalypse where everyone gets along, you'll have post-disaster apocalypse where people are building a society, but that doesn't always work for a film or any plotline because you need conflict in some way. Otherwise it doesn't catch people's attention and you don't explore much by no one having an arc, essentially.
Yeah. Conflict is drama. And I was just thinking about Lord of the Flies, written by William Golding, about the choir boys who get stranded on an island and then turning into complete savages and murdering each other.
Feral children, yeah.
Feral children. And that again, it's the animalistic nature of the human condition.
Yeah. And sort of dystopian is used to deconstruct society. A post-apocalypse, the main issue... I'm just going to pause it so I can get my thought out. You use post-apocalypse and dystopian to explore society. You exaggerate what's wrong with society. There's a game coming out where there's a dystopian set where basically, SJWs have taken over, and it's not the first to do it. I think it's ridiculous from a personal standpoint, but as a piece of media, I think it has a right to exist.
Yeah.
Because it's exploring that writer's fears, what they fear will go wrong with society, and what they fear it will lead to. I mean, a lot of horror is based on a lot of fear. There's a film called Sleepaway Camp, which is sort of a fear of which is transphobic.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that ending.
If you don't know what it is, basically there's a girl going around murdering people, and then you find out that the girl's actually a boy whose mother wanted to be a girl, so she abused him, and then he became a murderer who thought he was a girl at a sleepaway camp. And that whole movie's sort of based on fear of transphobia and push gender values. Which
I do find that final shot though is quite chilling.
Yeah, it's a well executed horror.
Sort of ending. Yeah, it's just
also, I shot that guy in the face with a laser and it only did half health damage.
Bah. But yeah, it's like I mean, with post-apocalypse, it's very much a social commentary on the times, the contemporary times of the
sort of societal fear of the writer. Yeah.
Like 1984 was actually about society in 1948. It was George Orwell was writing a social commentary on the world he was living in the 40s, in the late 40s.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called 1984, because he just reversed the year.
Okay, I didn't know that was the reason why he titled it that.
Yeah.
It's actually been a long time since I've read it and seen the film adaptation. Film adaptation's interesting because there are a lot of dystopian films that rip off the cinematography.
Yes.
Equilibrium, for one. Equilibrium rips off the cinematography of the auditorium.
I do like Equilibrium though. I do find it an interesting film. The idea of a dystopian world where emotion is just outlawed. Yeah, and so that's sort of the societal fear that the state is invading people's privacy. And as well with dystopian, it can explore ideas of what it means to be human, as in androids dream of electric sheep. Yes, great book.
It's an excellent short novel, which was Blade Runner. Blade Runner is the adaptation. But there are some interesting ideas going on there with what it means to be human.
Yeah.
That artificial intelligence is still intelligence, and so what it means to be human is our experiences. And you can explore that. It's not exactly dystopian, it's more sci-fi.
It's existential, yeah?
It's existential sci-fi, yeah. So
yeah. And I find sci-fi is at its best when it does that sort of thing.
I've got a few minutes to
because it sort of explores transhumanism in a way. And transhumanism is exploring different ways of being human while still being human. Unfortunately, this I'm going to go back to Fallout 4. Is a post-apocalypse about a personal drama with cyberpunk undertones that aren't properly explored. And so it fails on multiple levels.
Yeah.
Instead of just one.
Yeah.
Whereas Fallout New Vegas explores society in the post-apocalypse, which is important because it breaks down societal barriers.
Yeah.
And sort of explores people's different ideology and how that affects people on an individual level.
Yeah. I mean,
it fits thematically.
What was it I was going to say? It was just... Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
It's alright. I kind of rambled on. I like...
That's alright. No, it's good. I mean, it's very sort of... I agree with you on just about every point. I don't think there's anything I really disagree with. And it's all very insightful, so... what was it? I was going to say... I mean... Oh, that was it, yes. How do you feel about The Fifth Element as a science fiction film?
I don't like it like some people do. I think it's fun. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun action flick.
Yep.
Which likes to highlight that Mila Jovovich is indeed an attractive woman. But I don't like the suggested gender values of that. because you have a buff guy who's smart and witty and clever, and then you have a woman who's extremely attractive but almost illegible, and he's immediately attracted to her. It's kind of like, you can have interesting female characters that are more than that.
I'm just thinking about Luc Besson's latest film, which is that what's it called? Something in the City of a Thousand Planets. And it's like, it just looks like the Fifth Element turned up to 11. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Fifth Element, but his latest film just looks like Valerian. Thank you, Tim Pirate.
The film that tanked.
Yeah, it just looked like it was all spectacle and like
it was.
Have you seen it? Or...
I've seen enough of the trailer and I've heard enough about it to swayed me from watching it.
Yeah, I have to admit, I have to say kudos to people who make trailers for films, because they can make shit look interesting. I remember watching the trailer for Sucker Punch and thinking, this could actually be a really fun action romp, and then I read all the reviews and was like, oh, it's fucking dire.
Yeah, they edit it to be a fun action romp by the trailers when they found out that Deadpool did well.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't shot to be that, because what DC like to do with their films is make it grim dark, even if it doesn't work thematically.
I don't understand anything about, like, I've heard like commentaries and podcasts about the Batman v Superman film. I'm glad I haven't watched it because I don't want to, but knowing it by sort of knowing the plot and many of the beats of the story by proxy just really bothers me.
It's brooding for little to no reason.
I know that Zack Snyder is a big fan of Ayn Rand, which is good old Ayn Rand.
Oh, Zack Snyder. Oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, Bioshock is essentially why Ayn Rand's philosophy is fucked.
Yeah.
Sorry, objectivists, but
I like Bioshock.
It's a brilliant look at the deconstruction of objectivism.
Why libertarian doesn't work, essentially.
Yeah, and the sort of, in many ways, it's a very good deconstruction of, again, Lord of the Flies style society breaking down, and idealism falling into disillusion and corruption.
It's a dystopian. It's not exactly post-apocalypse, but it is.
No.
I'd say it's definitely dystopian.
Yes.
In some respects.
Yeah, dystopian. I like dystopians settings, not necessarily always post-apocalyptic, but I find it very interesting for the social commentary.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the core focus of the setting. It's what it's used to explore with. You know, you've got to think about what themes you want to go with and how that reflects the setting.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like, again, don't use... do you want to use cyberpunk to explore the human condition, not a post-apocalypse? Because it's almost like pathetic fallacy with the setting as opposed to the weather on a broader term.
I find that the introduction of simps into the Fallout universe to be really jarring. And
Yes,
I think that's why you've nailed it on
because
the head.
it's not about survival in the destruction of complete annihilation of society as we know it.
Just from a sort of lore standpoint as well, it's like they play such a big part in the lore of this story, from what I gather. But I'm just like, you've already got Mr. Gutsies and robots and stuff with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, they've all got personalities.
Yeah, what makes the Simps any different?
Well, I like it because the Institute acts like the Umbrella Corporation, where they're still doing evil things, even though they've blown up the world. Like, in Resident Evil, in the films at least.
Oh god.
They're like building fake cities and cloning people and unleashing zombie outbreaks on the clones to be used as an advert to sell to the countries, but they've destroyed the world. There's nothing left.
There's only like 50 people in the whole world, and they're trying to say biochemical weapons to them. It's like, what is the fucking point?
They're so unabashedly evil for no discernible reason.
It's almost refreshing, you know. I mean, in a sort of absurd, stupid way. It's like just these Machiavellian villains who are just absurdly evil for no good fucking reason.
It's like, why are you doing this? Because we're evil. But why?
It's like, I know everyone...
Oh, who's this Burke?
Burke!
Settler.
I'm hungry.
I like your settlement of a cinder block and a mattress. Oh, sorry, you got a campfire here too.
He looks like the generic face of the main character.
Why?
Like the male...
Are you threatening me?
He looks just like the generic male preset.
I think I ate a bad can of meat.
Just with darker skin.
Okay. Maybe it was 3 cans.
But yeah, going back to villains are one of my favourite things in fiction. And sometimes it is... Yeah, I mean, this game as well, from what I understand, doesn't really have a sort of set antagonist.
Not exactly. It's more the looming threat of an unknown, shadowy organisation that is unabashedly evil, and people think that, oh, they're infiltrating society. It's kind of like a boogeyman, essentially, where you don't know if they really exist, except you do. And they try and justify the evil things they do, saying that they're trying to rebuild society and that people aren't ready. But they're still, like, killing people and then replacing them with what they think are robots with no personality, even though they're essentially people, just not made the traditional way.
But a faceless antagonist is a very weak, flimsy antagonist, to be fair.
It depends how you execute it.
Yeah, I mean, usually... Because at the base of the basics of storytelling...
That's a lot of rads.
I'm going really, really base here. There's a protagonist who wants something, and there is an obstacle. That's the boil down the story to the basic tenements. That's what it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is the antagonist in this game that's stopping us from getting our child back? Who is the big bad, sort of thing? That's
the Institute, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have flashed up the spoilers sign. The Institute is taken by... hang on, I'll just do it now. Yeah. Don't worry, everyone. There won't be spoilers.
You can do it in post. Do it in post. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
So the big bad is the Institute, and Sean is now the Institute. So the antagonist that took our son is our son.
Oh god, that's some Bioshock Infinite shit right there.
Yeah, almost. It's been so long, which our character being frozen didn't figure out, but the Institute is now owned by Sean, who knows that we're looking for him, but hasn't come forward. And we even meet him at one point, and then we do missions for him.
So the antagonist is the person you're trying to save. So the antagonist is the MacGuffin, and
yeah, and then we get a choice of whether we want to side with him, killing civilians and planting, and basically making slaves for him.
That is moronic on so many levels.
Or we can blow him up.
Yeah, I mean,
it's one of the two choices. We don't get to just ignore it, essentially.
I think that's why this game kind of... I mean, even in the original Fallouts, I know in the first Fallout you had the Master.
Yes.
Who was a really...
Who had motivations, even though they were wrong. You could even talk your way out of why he was wrong.
Exactly, and that is a genius move in those sort of games. You know, is having the negotiation tactic and having a clear set villain, a clear set goal, a clear set antagonist. I think that's partly why I find this game really problematic, is because it's like, oh, we need to find Sean, but it's like either I'm very much a sort of all or nothing with these sort of things. I know that's not necessarily a good thing, but it's like either have a story or don't. Just have a sandbox. Don't put something really weak and and like milk toast as a story.
Which is what people treat the Fallout franchise as.
Yeah. I'm going to go on one of my writer rants, I think. But it's just like, for me, storytelling is just like, you need a goal, it's something I struggle with, admittedly, but if you have a good, strong antagonist and a good, strong protagonist, you can play off that. I mean, I'm trying to think of good examples. Like, I think even in Amnesia: The Dark Descent, they had a set antagonist, and through flashbacks you learn more about the antagonist and his relationships, and through epistles, like through letters and stuff you find in the world, which I always find very interesting in those sort of things like that. Like in System Shock, the audio logs and stuff. I love those sort of world building. Yeah, this doesn't seem to have, for all its sort of open world setting, it doesn't have much in the way of lore, I find.
No, it's very lacking.
And that's the problem with a sandbox, is that a sandbox is just filled with sand. To take it to its most literal point.
Yeah, every grain, it doesn't matter how different every grain is, it's still all silicon. It's all grains of sand.
It's all the same. You've got to have colour, you've got to have ebb and flow in the story.
And also the thing with the sandbox, it's difficult to follow a trail of grains.
Oh god,
which I think is what you need if you want some kind of plot motivation, and if you set up for a specific trail of grains, i.e. they done took my son, I'm going to find my son, then it's easy to get lost, and thus tension is lost.
Yeah, I mean, even a branching narrative in some ways is kind of linear in that it's all pointing to set goals,
Yeah.
Like, it starts off as a single line, then it splits again. It's like a tree branch. But it's all heading in one direction. It's not going backwards. It's not like... And I think this game has a really it has the sort of seed of a narrative, to use the plant analogy again, but it just doesn't have the direction, it doesn't have the focus that it needs to tell a good story. And that's why I think in many ways they should have just scrapped the stuff with the sun. I mean, just scrap it. Just start with you waking up with no I mean, even I
waking up from Christ storage. And well, you need some kind of plot incentive to get things going, and maybe you've got other Vault Dwellers with you who are released and are like, we need to build society. Society is very harsh against us. We need to make a stronghold, and then you can build in the building supply chains, building strongholds mechanic works via the story, because you're building a society up. I mean, that's more or less what Fallout 2 is, almost.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's something. It allows you to be open-ended.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the difference between world building and plot. I mean, plot is strict. It's got a direction. It's got a goal. It's got a focus. World building is more
flavor text.
It's the flavor. Yeah, and I mean, if this game had just was shaping a world and shaping an environment and the people in it, and not just giving you a really flimsy plot line. Like, if they cut the beginning part and just had you wake up with like amnesia, I know amnesia is
it's overdone.
Trite. It's overdone and it's trite, but it has its uses, setting up as a blank slate, or give you some kind of character backstory creation, like they did kind of in
Mass Effect. Oh, sorry.
And Mass Effect, yeah. And it's like, it gives you this sense of, like, you can learn about the world and you can explore and you can do whatever you want. But if you're tied down with this plot at the very beginning, it's restrictive. And it creates, and when you break away from that plot, which you can do quite easily, even though it's restrictive, it creates that narrative dissonance.
Yeah, you break dramatic timing and sort of the way tension is distributed.
And also, there's always the focus on player agency. Like, everyone will play the game differently. Everyone will want to do different things in a game.
Yeah.
And like, it's like the whole. I've seen people who play like horror games who get really scared and jump scared and they really buy into the world. I've seen people who just watch the horror game and go, "Oh yeah, that's you know, they crack wise and they take the piss out of the game and they don't find it scary at all, and they just make jokes." And it's like, if you're trying to envelop a player, you can never. In many ways, you can't, because it's an interactive genre in video games. You can't know what the player's going to do. You can't. There's an infinite number of things that a player can do, will want to do. So, in many ways, in an open world game, you want to try and cater to that as best you can.
Make it open-ended. Only a sociopath would like ignore the fact that their child is missing.
Exactly.
After watching their spouse get executed.
Yeah. And maybe I don't want to play this game because I want to find my kid. Maybe I want to play the game because I want to build a settlement and start a farm or something, you know. And they've tied you down with that story thing. It's almost like they're dictating to you. Right, this is your character. This is what you want. This is your player agency. Go play the game. And it's like, what if I don't want to do that?
Yeah, precisely. I mean, they've designed it in a way that only a sociopath would ignore the story. But the problem with that is that they've designed the game. I mean, their unique selling point was based around the fact that you'd have to be a sociopath. It's very poorly designed.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's why I call it.
Now, so.
Oh, thanks for joining us, Tomb Pirate. It's been nice having you around. It's been building confidence having someone in the chat when I've been soloing this.
No worries. See you later, mate.
Have a good one.
Bye. It's I understand what you mean. It's like they kind of tied you down with this player motivation in a sandbox world, and that's kind of almost like dichotomic. Oh, sorry, I just received.
Okay, there.
Yeah, sorry, I just received a message. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm just going to link someone to the stream actually, and so they can hear us waffle on.
Waffle on. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know how long we're gonna last. Probably not very long.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very. Yeah, I mean, and they've created a world which is, in many ways, quite.
It's fun to explore, but it lacks depth. It's a mile wide, an inch deep.
Yes, that is it perfectly. It's like a thin. I just got the image of like one of those thin crust pizzas, you know. It's like it's like trying to put one of those in the oven. It's just flimsy and they've stretched it too far. They've stretched what they had too far, and they instead of having a focus, they tried to go for every single base. They tried to cover every single base in the world building and the plot. They've got to say, oh, we've got to have this plot, we've got to have this, we've got to entice people with this powerful, compelling story, but we also got to have crafting and world building, and you know, everyone wants to do this, and we can make this bigger. We've got to make it bigger, bigger, bigger.
That's why I call it a Fallout fan game.
Yeah, because it loses track of what Fallout really is. And it's
also, here's the example of creatures being more difficult. Just soaking magazines into creatures right next to the starting area.
And they're soft shell as well, which implies that they're supposed to be weak. It's like, don't enemies because I heard that the enemies in this game don't scale to you.
No.
And that kind of bothers me a bit, because it means you're going to run into roadblocks. I mean, in an open world game, that's kind of problematic, I find.
Well, it's problematic if your enemies are bullet sponges, but ammo's limited.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly that. It's that it's that cognitive dissonance of, we want enemies to be really strong and powerful and threatening, but also you've got very little resources, so it's like, oh, so it just ends up being
The
frustrating.
game's geared towards being an FPS, but not one where you can play it smart, because the AI isn't intelligent and the sneaking system isn't intelligent enough.
Yeah.
But they've made bullets, so your option is to go on into a straight up fight, but the enemies are bullet sponges and you don't have enough ammo to deal with a bullet sponge, and you don't have enough damage to warrant ammunition being limited, so there's no real way of playing smart.
Yeah, it's
So the story is garbage.
Yeah. Gameplay sort of
gameplay is very meh.
Yeah.
Best way I could describe it is very
Mediocre?
mediocre.
Oh, sorry.
Poorly thought out.
Mediocre.
This game wishes it could reference Fury Road.
Even though it came out before it.
Yeah. Well, Fury Road's been in development for over 10 years.
Oh, that's true. That is true. That fucking film though. That film does everything this game. The plot of Fury Road and the world building does everything right. What this game kind of.
It's
does
about the
wrong,
human
I find.
condition.
Yeah.
It's a
And even just the little
post-apocalypse.
details. The little details. Like I love the fact that they talk about McFeasting with their ancestors, like McFeasting. Like it's just little references to modern culture and stuff that are laced throughout the game. Which
How
I
it's
think
ancient
is
history, so people talk about it like ancient religions.
cool. Yeah. It's fascinating,
And it also sort of suggests that corporations are the religions of today, how people are loyal to them.
I could talk about. We need to do like a podcast or something where we just gush about Fury Road.
Post-apocalyptic pals, or post-apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic.
There's something in there, and definitely something we could look into.
Yeah, different film. Yeah, we need to do like a film podcast or film chat or something.
Yeah.
I don't
that's
know
been in the works for a while for me, getting that right. It's gone through a lot of iterations with me and some other people, like people I worked with in college. Me and David at one point, I tried starting it with David where we'd review, basically a film review thing where we'd look at garbage films and basically work through, deconstruct them, riff on them, and sort of go through what's the worst movie of the year.
Oh,
And
I'd love to do something like that.
what our favourite worst movie is, sort of like best of the worst, but podcasting with us instead
That would
of
be
three middle-aged men who all agree on everything and don't really take films at face value, because you have David takes films at face value and that's fine for him, he gets entertained by them, but I look at sort of more intricate details of what they mean, so we have
subtext and such.
we have different opinions. We tried doing a commentary of the Grumpy Cat movie, which I made him watch and sit through and riff through.
Oh god.
But I was riffing on it, but he couldn't make heads or tails of it. He was too confused by it because it's so bad. I think I tried us jumping in the deep end to see how things would go to really challenge us, but
Sometimes
it didn't work out. So we have to sort of think about how maybe rework the formula.
See, what I like is I like watching awful, like bad horror movies and stuff, because I actually learn very well from deconstructing and sort of reverse engineering like bad movies, like going, right, this didn't work because XYZ. How can we make that work? That's how I look. I've got that sort of pragmatic approach to looking at storytelling in bad films. Is right. I can work out how that didn't work. Like it missed this beat, or this effect did not. This jump scare didn't work. How can we make that work?
I think it'll be interesting to do a podcast where we take a film, review it, and then make it good.
Yes. There is something, unfortunately, already like that called the sequelizers.
Oh, that's a shame.
But it's based around sequels to horror movies. We could just do... Well, it doesn't really matter. We don't have to be... I mean, we could just do it for laughs. I mean, the thing with podcasts is there are so many podcasts out there that is... it's kind of difficult to come up with something sort of
original.
that isn't treading. Well, I was trying to avoid saying that, but yeah, it's just the idea of like everything's been done before, I suppose. So it trying to do something like putting a spin on it or putting some new twist on our podcast. We're doing a movie review, but with it kind of makes it a bit
gimmicky.
Yeah, gimmicky. Gimmicks. I don't like gimmicks. And I think that maybe, going back to gimmicks in Fallout 4, I think that in many ways, many of the new elements, like the crafting and stuff, like the settlement crafting, do actually feel quite gimmicky to me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. The weapon modifications kind of fits. Like the way that people are strapping things to their guns to suit their way.
See, I actually adore weapon modification in video games. It's one of the things that always like catches my eye, is the idea of modifying your weapon and changing its appearance and changing its stats and stuff and messing around with that. I love that sort of stuff. But in this, it just felt like a shadow of what it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's distracted a lot by poorly thought out ideas.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's almost like they had no. I'm fascinated by the creative process behind these sort of things. Like in many ways, the drawing back to what we were saying about Red Letter Media and the Plinkett reviews of the episode 1. Don't worry, this segue does go somewhere. It's not going off into the distance. But they were saying that in the Plinkett reviews of episode 1, they said that they felt that George Lucas had too much creative control, and he was given free rein to do whatever he wanted. And because he did that, there was no one to rein him in. That's why the film ended up so sort of all over the place. And I think that's the same with this game, is that they were given sort of carte blanche, and they got over ambitious and they lost focus.
Absolutely. Well, I think they were trying to gear it towards the Fallout 3 audience, because that's a big audience, and they were trying to appeal to the widest majority instead of thinking about a dedicated fan base and budgeting it accordingly.
Yeah.
Which is the downfall of most sequels, really, is that they try and increase the numbers, but a sequel to anything is always going to get less attention.
Diminishing returns.
I mean, a sequel to something, people aren't going to jump off in the middle of a franchise. They're always going to go to the first, and some people aren't going to like the first that brought it.
And it's a shame, because I'm immediately thinking of Dead Space.
Yeah.
Because Dead Space 2, I think, is a vast improvement over Dead Space 1.
In fact, that's one of the few games that I played first, but I went back and played Dead Space 1.
And it is very... It builds on what already existed in a way that I felt expanded the universe, it expanded the characters, and sometimes sequels take a bare bones game and then make it something. It gives it more personality and more. It feels more. I don't know, how do I put this? More fleshed out, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a chance to. They get a little bit of a bigger budget to flesh out that ideas that they had for the first more so, and then the third is when they screw it up and try appealing to the vast majority.
The difficult third entry, as Ricky Gervais says.
Yeah.
It's always, and I mean with games as well, because the games industry, and I kind of hate that it's an industry and not an art form. Is that with big companies like they I think, like, going back to Dead Space 3, I heard recently had to make 5 million copies.
Oh, sorry. 5 million sold copies.
And it's like, when you do that, when you have to, I mean, surely it would be better to go for something a bit lower stakes and
geared towards what your actual fan base was, and just lower the budget down. They managed to achieve it with the other games. You know, well, there's the constant need to improve graphics and not thinking about improving quality.
Yeah.
I'd like to revisit Dead Space in a stream, because I really do like that franchise. Oh,
It's
well,
good.
the
It's
second
a
and
shame-
first.
The second and first. It's just that it's a shame that they. I think it speaks to game corporations how like EA is very good at sort of saying, "Oh, you haven't made your quota, so we're just going to liquidate your entire team and put you on to fucking Call of Duty," which is what the devs are now making. Is not Call of Duty, Battlefield. They're both interchangeable to me. I can't fucking stand those sort of
Battlefield is the one with more people in. Call of Duty has more children.
Yeah, I just think Battlefield is EA, Call of Duty is Activision. That's the only thing. If you show me screenshots from the two of them, I mean, you can probably do it now in post. Just bring up a screenshot and just compare them side by side. I couldn't be able to tell which fucking one was which.
Yeah, well, they're trying to reach the same demographic, diluting a market,
Yeah.
forgetting about a smaller percentage, which is when indie devs start making 8-bit games or horror games.
I mean,
Basically games that appeal to an untapped market.
Yeah, and that's the thing I find interesting in literature as well, is the idea is running the risk between going for a market that is untapped and potentially getting undivided attention
And love
but
from
also,
your fan base.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about fan bases, to be honest. I'm the sort of guy, I'd like people to read my stuff. I'm going a bit self-centered now and talking about my own work, but it's just like I would like people to read my stuff, but I don't want the accoutrements that come with fame. Fuck being famous, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it has its appeals, but when you actually get into the nitty-gritty of it, it's not. I'd
just
rather
find
make art.
Yes,
freely.
exactly. It's like, and it's a shame that mindset has been derided by companies, like video game companies. Like, I feel sorry for. In many times, I feel very sorry for devs. Like I say, I know. Like I say, having had both Bullfrog, Lionhead, well, having had Bullfrog and Lionhead, because Peter Molyneux is a Guildford guy, and I live in Guildford, and the developers of No Man's Sky, all both being like on my doorstep, I kind of feel like, you know, I feel sorry for devs, but I can see how it gets fucked up at the same time, and I think a lot of it is just the producers and the production, you know, the big companies.
Money ruins everything.
Money does. Yeah, that's. Thank you for putting it so succinctly, because that's basically what I'm trying to say. The love of money is the root of all evil. There you go. There, I said it. I think. Anyway, I think time is more important than money. I know we're getting very far away from Fallout now, but
Well, I think speaking of time, it's probably time to wrap this stream up. It's
oh yes,
been going on for a good. Is it 3 hours? Yeah, almost 3.5 hours. But
hell.
thank you for anyone that's stayed this long and
Thank you.
has been paying attention. I've hoped you liked a slightly different style of stream for Saturday Super Streams.
That's nice.
David should be back next week, I think, and I know
The
that when he's
scrubbing will
back,
continue.
we'll do the more traditional formula where we'll be playing Warframe together.
And he'll be a scrub.
Yes, so I've hoped you liked my 3.5 hour rant on why Fallout 4 is garbage.